Yes. So today's topic of discussion is about decision making. It is the eighth chapter, which follows the previous chapter of problem solving, which we discussed yesterday. And let me give a small intro about myself. I am Ashok Surendran. I am a software developer by profession, and my other passion is investment, traveling, and other steps. I'm currently in a leadership role in a product with Zoho, a low-code application development platform called Zoho Creator, and I'm doing MSc Psychology with our A24 batch. So, what is decision making? So, decision making is a process of identifying and choosing the best course of action from multiple alternatives to solve a problem or achieve a goal. Means, let's assume we make a lot of decisions day in and day out, be it very small things like what to have for breakfast, what attire to have for the work, and all that stuff. And to other extent, we make critical decisions like where to make investment, what to pursue in life, where to travel, and all the stuff. So what we call as decision making is like, let's assume we are in a current state and we want to pursue and desired state in future. And if you have multiple pathways to reach that state from your current position, we are forced to take one path and see whether how it works for ourselves. So that is what we call as decision making. So it involves multiple processes. First, we should understand a problem and evaluate all the possible options available to solve the problem, and pick one most suitable solution from the available informations that we have, which we believe should work in solving. So whatever decision which we make can either solve the problem or it cannot solve the problem. So all this we'll see in the future. So a typical example is like, let's assume there is a college passed out student who gets a job in a new city. Typically, we all have this confusion like where to choose the place to live. So we can choose a flat which is very near the office, where the rent will be higher, but the travel time will be lesser. And there will be a cheaper flat which is available very far away from the office, where the rent will be very less, but daily you need to commute a long distance. And there will be a shared apartment where all your colleagues will be staying somewhere in between uh, the farthest point and the shortest point in the midway, where the rent will be moderate and the commute will also be moderate. So it depends on the comfort which we choose, whether if we want to commute less, we'll be ready to pay more, or if we want to have low rent for sure, then we should be ready to commute long. And if you want to get the best of all, to be with your friends with medium rent and moderate commute, you can choose an apartment which is there in a particular range from your office. So all these factors help in making decisions. So why I'm telling this example is like, for any problem that we are trying to solve, any decision that we take, there is no one right decision which fits for everyone. So decision is differs from person to person and what intent we want to achieve. So it depends on all these factors. So there are several stages in decision making. So there are three stages to be precise. So first one is pre-decision phase, second one is decision phase, and the third one is post-decision phase. So as we know, pre-decision phase is the first stage where we identify the problem. So first we should know what the problem is, and then we gather some information around it so that you will know what are all the possible ways through which you can solve the problem. One second. Am I audible?
Yes, but your slide is not changing.
Anybody is there? I can't hear any sound. Excuse me. Hello.
Hello. Am I audible now?
You are audible now.
Hello.
We can't hear the audio clearly.
Can't hear anyone.
எல்லாரும் பேசுறாங்க.
Sir, we can't hear anything else, sir.
Now I could hear you. So I'm audible to everyone, right?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, thank you. So the identification of problem is the first part. So in the example which we were discussing, let's assume a student who scores 40% in the exam and want to get above. So the current state is somewhere around 40%, where the student has just passed, but the student wants to score till 80%. So the gap here is the performance. So the dilemma here is like the student should invest more number of hours to study so that the percentage can go up, or if the student still enjoys playing, spending time with friends and other stuff, so that the student spends still lesser amount of time. So the dilemma is like, from the current state, what improvement we want to do so that we make sure we reach the desired goal. So first is the identification of problem. And the second thing is information gathering. So the more complex the problem is, so is my slide changing? Hello.
Is actually from before slides itself, we can't hear you. Can you start from the decision making part? Like after decision making definition, we can't hear.
Meaning from stages of decision making.
Yes.
Okay, so first thing is, if you guys face any problem, you can just unmute yourself and say, or if it is not audible for me, you can use the chat window. Yes, I am speaking now. Or you can use the reactions at the bottom, whether if it is audible, if it is not audible, you can give a thumbs up or a thumbs down so that I can know instantly.
Sir, we can only see the slide, not the audio is clear.
Audio is not clear still?
Yes, sir, the voice is break.
Okay, 1 second, I'll just disconnect my Bluetooth headsets. Hello. Is it better now?
Yeah, it is clear now. Go ahead.
Now it is clear.
Okay, I just got rid of my Bluetooth headsets. Thank you. Which slide you are currently seeing?
Stages of decision
The
making.
stages of decision making.
Yeah. So the first stage is pre-decision phase, where identification of problem and information gathering is the primary part. So in identification of problem, first thing is we should know what the problem is. So the problem identification starts with recognizing the gap between the current state and the desired goal. So let's assume there is a student who scores 40% in exams but wants to get above 80% in future. The problem in front of the kid is the gap in the performance. So first step is to identify what is the problem. And the next state is information gathering. The more complex the problem, the more information is needed to resolve it. So if it is a very small problem, like what to have for a breakfast, either idli or dosa, so all these are very simple problems. So you need very less number of information to decide on all those stuff. If it is a very complex problem, you need to have more information to solve it. So the skillful decision makers, you would have seen people who make better decisions. They filter useful information from distractions. We call that as signals and noise. There could be multiple noise which you hear, but only when you interpret the right useful information, you'll be able to make the proper decisions. So skillful decision makers are good in picking the signal information, that is useful informations, which can help in solving the problems better or making better decisions. And efficient decision making is all about finding the right amount of useful information and not all the information. Let's assume you are desiring to buy a car. A smart buyer will look into the key specifications of the product and see the reviews, YouTube videos for actual reviews of people who use it, rather than seeing the flashy ads which the car company makes, the stunts that they make. So this is what is like what information you look to make the decision. That is very, very important. So first step is you should find what the problem is. Second is you should find the information surrounding the problem so that these information can help in making the better decisions. Second phase is the decision phase, where in the first phase you would have got multiple options with multiple informations. In the decision phase, we make the actual decision. So you would have got multiple options to solve the problem. And usually we pick the most favorable one from the existing knowledge which we have around the problem. So that is the actual moment when we take the decision. So when taking decision, we usually imagine the outcomes, what could happen, what might happen, all these things we actually visualize. And based on these risks, we actually alter the kind of decision that we make. Let's assume there is a college student who gets a job offer, one with a stable salary and one with high growth, but potentially uncertain job nature. So here the income versus potential future reward is the risk factor, whether you get a good salary with high risk or you get a moderate salary with low risk. So again, in this case, people make different decisions. If you are more conservative, you take the options which has lesser risks. And if you are risk appetite, you will take the options which has more risks. So decision making is a part in which individuals make decisions based on their knowledge, existing knowledge around the problem. And the third phase is post-decision phase, where you have already made a decision, and then now you are supposed to evaluate the outcomes of the decision that you have already made. So in this phase, after making a decision, people often question if the decision that I have made was the best choice that should have been done. So this usually creates two things. Either if your decision has worked out in the right way, you would enjoy the moment, or if the outcomes are not as expected, the post decision doubt or post decision regret will happen. In this state, we have two things. Either there are people who gets more emotional towards the decision which they have made and justify their choice and still downplay the alternatives, meaning you don't take an option to recover from the decision. And there is another way, like you identify that the kind of decision you made is not working, and sooner you identify it, get rid of the emotional thing around it, think logically and evolve yourself so that you fail fast and then you make decisions quickly so that you recover from that failure. So the third stage is very crucial. Even if you fail or make decisions which are not working out currently, the sooner you identify whether the decision is working or not, the better you have the time to recover from that. So there are two options here: either to stick with the decision and regret, or find it earlier and then recover or evolve from that situation. A typical example will be, assume you run a company and you heavily invest in a vendor for, let's say, point of sale system where billing is done. just because the vendor showed a very impressive demo, and within few months of you purchasing it, at the moment you purchase it, the decision is over. Let's assume after 2 months, the employees in your store come and say like, the POS system is very slow, it lacks all the features. If you start receiving feedbacks like that, the better way is like, the moment you identify it is causing productivity drop for your employees, it is better to switch the vendor quickly, rather than still sticking to it, speaking to the vendor, making sure they make it right for months and months. So evaluation of the decision that we made is very crucial to make sure whether we attain the goal which we were supposed to achieve. So these are all the three major stages of decision making. One is pre, other one is decision making state, and the other one is post decision state. Then the next important topic is, what are all the factors that is involved in decision making? There are mainly three things which we have as factors. First one is utility. So people usually make decisions to optimize their outcome. That is like, whatever options you are given with, and what is your current need. So either if it matches you, you'll have a trade-off with the time, or you either minimize the loss or maximize the benefit. We pick any one of it, and it differs from person to person. Let's assume you are given with the choice of taking, you are given with the deal whether you can take 1,000 rupees today itself, or you can wait for, if you can wait for 1 year, you can get 10,000 rupees. And so if two person with different backgrounds are offered with the same deal, one with very immediate needs, say if he wants to have some medical expense immediately, or if he wants to pay school fees for their kid, the value of 1,000 rupees today will be different. And for people who are financially stable, waiting for a year to get 10,000 may be the best thing, because they get 900% growth. So it is based on the utility, what your needs are. So usually people make decisions based on what their needs are. So that is what is basically called as utility, which is the first factor. What you want, that defines what decisions you make. And second one is subjective probability, where most real life decisions involve uncertainty, and you may not know what will happen in the future based on your decisions. So those aspects we call as subjective probabilities, where you believe that if you take this decision, something will happen some way, and then you make the decision. So for example, let's assume there is a friend of you who says to invest in stock, and you invest. That is a different story. But in subjective probability, you go understand what stock market is. If you invest some amount, let's assume if it can grow 20% year over year, and if you believe that growth is possible, either with stock or mutual fund, and then if you do that, that is called subjective probability. You know that this is going to happen. You don't know exactly, but probably that could happen. Your utility versus the subjective probability. You want to have higher returns. That is your utility. And the subjective probability is like, based on your research, you believe that it will grow by 20% minimum. So this way you make a decision based off subjective probability. So this is what is subjective probability. And the third factor which most people do in reflex is heuristics in decision making. Heuristic is like anything which you do subconsciously without giving much conscious thought. That is called as heuristics in decision making. Heuristics are simple, quick decision making strategies based on past experience. Since they happen in subconscious mind based on your past experiences, they don't take much of your mental effort. You will not bring that problem to your thought process, give a thought to it, and then make a decision. All that will not happen. Most of the thing will happen just like that from your subconscious mind. Just since it happens subconsciously, it is highly prone to have biases and error in judgment. So there are several types of heuristics which is involved in decision making. It is five types basically. First type is representativeness heuristics, which is like stereotype. Representative heuristic is when people judge likelihood based on how closely something matches a stereotype. including ignoring actual statistics or probabilities. So representative heuristics is basically a stereotype. Let's assume you go outside, you see on a highway you are going, and you see a man who wears a leather jacket, rides a motorcycle, and has tattoos and all on his hands. You immediately assume he's a bike gang member or someone. But in reality, he can be a school teacher who just enjoys his bike ride on weekends. So it is like stereotype. Any stereotype, you see a person on the first sight, you get some stereotype, and then you come to a conclusion that is a stereotype. So all these kind of decisions are called as representative heuristics. And the second type is availability heuristics, where people judge how likely something is based on how easily they can recall examples. Recently reading newspapers, recently hearing a gossip from your friend, or whatever it is. Any recent information you get, which is viral at the moment, you believe that can influence your decisions very hugely. You take that heavily. So that is the recent available information which impacts your decision. For example, recently you would have heard about Air India plane crash. So after hearing that, there are many people who believe flying is more dangerous than driving. But statistically, still flying is much safer than driving. The number of accidents which happen in airways is way far lesser than what is happening in roadways. But the moment when you hear all these public news about something which is happening recently, the kind of decisions that you make can change. So that kind of heuristic decision making is called as availability heuristics. And the next type of heuristic is, this is very interesting, anchoring and adjustment heuristic, where the anchoring and adjustment heuristic occurs when people rely heavily on initial value anchor to make the estimates. Let's assume you go to a furniture shop to buy an furniture or a sofa, and the guy who sells it says it costs 50,000. The moment he says the price as 50,000, that is called as the anchor price. Your thought process revolves around that anchor price. So you'll think like, if it is 50,000, if I should save 20%, I should minimum ask 10,000 less. So let's start asking for 40,000 so that I can close the deal at 45,000. That is what you will think. So this kind of decision making is called as anchoring heuristics. So based on anchoring heuristic, you make a decision. But in real world, let's assume if you're not given the anchor value of 50,000 by that seller, you would have actually looked into the table, how heavy it is, what kind of wood it is made, how many chairs are there, all that you will assess. And if you feel that if it is closely worth to 30,000, you will start asking for 30,000. So what price you first quote, or what impression you get on first view of the problem, that acts as an anchoring value of the problem, so that your thought process revolves around it. So if the seller says 50,000, you ask for 40,000, and you believe that is a good deal. But ideally, if the actual value of sofa, if it is just 30,000, the initial 50,000 price which anchor influence their judgment. The customer's judgment is influenced based on the anchor price. So these are all the kind of decisions which we can take heuristically based on anchor value. So the reverse can also happen. Let's assume you walk into a store knowing all this. Next time when you walk into a store, let's assume you find a product which is very good. You ask for a price, and if they say something as 50,000, you can throw and reverse anchor price. Say you can ask for 20,000, so that you'll know what is the minimum bearable cost to which the seller can come down. So if he says 40,000, then you can negotiate. So when you are believing that you have some anchoring towards decision making, first question that anchor. So that is what the heuristics based on anchoring is all about. Third one is decision framing heuristics. Decision framing refers to how the way a choice is represented. So there will be a single fact which can be represented in two ways, like either as a gain or as a loss. Let's assume you go to a doctor who says there is an operation needs to be done, and the survival rate for the patient is 90%. You'll feel comfortable. You'll feel like, whoa, there is 90% positive rate for this operation. But if the same doctor or a different doctor says there is 10% mortality rate for this operation, it is still the same. The matter of fact is same. 90% success and 10% mortality is still the same. But the kind of, if you hear the same stats in positive note, you take a different decision. And if you take the same stat in a negative tone, you make different decisions. So this is also a heuristic where you naturally lose the balance to see what is actually right and what is wrong. It is just a perspective of positivity and perspective of negativity, which makes a certain decision which couldn't have been taken that way. So that is called as decision framing. You frame it either positively or you frame it either negatively. This is what mostly happens in marketing. They portray some number as a very big number. They say 90% of women trust our health drink, kind of marketing they do. So all this is giving an decision framing heuristic based on which we make some decision which can either go right or go wrong. So these are all the factors which subconsciously or subconsciously influence us in making decisions. And the last one is, this is a bit complex, which is prospect heuristic. Prospect heuristic theory explains how people actually make decisions under risk. When you know you are having some risk, generally we overweigh or over stressed about unlikely losses and underweigh likely gains. So this is like, I'll give you an example. Let's assume you are trading some stock where you know for sure certain risk is involved. So let's assume if you sell a stock today, you may get 500 rupees gain. And there is an expert who says that if you wait for 3 more months, there is a 50% chance for the stock to go 1,200 rupees. So in this case, if you sell the stock today, you will have 500 rupees gain. But if you wait for 3 or 4 months, it can go till 1,200 rupees, but it has only 50% chance. You may get that price, you may not get that price. It can, after 4 months, it can even go below the current price also. So in this case, when you hear that if the price can go till 1,200 with a 50% chance, you feel like you are missing 700 rupees profit without understanding that it has only 50% chance. Here, we overweigh the unlikely loss. Unlikely loss is just 700 rupees. We feel missed out of it. We give over value to it. And likely gains is like, on the table, you have 500 rupees profit today, which you underweigh today. You may even lose that also. But when you hear that if getting 500 rupees today or waiting for 4 more months to see if you get additional 700 rupees profit, which has only 50% of chance to happen, we usually feel like even if it has only 50% chance, we give over weightage to that unlikely loss and underweigh on the likely gains which we have on the table. So this is called as prospect heuristics. All these are small tricky things which our brain subconsciously does when making decisions. So there are 5 things basically. First one is availability heuristics. First one is representativeness heuristics, where it is purely based on stereotype. Second is availability heuristics, where whatever information which we hear recently, we take decisions based on the bias towards that. Third one is anchoring, the initial price which decides the conversations around it and the decisions around it. Fourth one is decision framing, where you frame the decision as positive thing or a negative thing, which has an impact on the way we take the decisions. And the fifth one is prospect heuristics, where we overweigh the loss and underweigh the gains which you have currently. So we have seen the factors, all the factors, and for all the last factors, heuristic factors which we have seen at the last, we know it has some bias in the decision making. Either
Can you explain that last one again with a different example? I didn't get it.
okay. Let's assume. Let's assume you are in an appraisal room with your manager, and he says you are performing currently like XYZ, and if you are available to take an hike of 8% now, or you can wait another 6 months as a probation, and if you still perform good, there is a 50% chance or 30% chance you get a hike of about 12 to 14%. So when you hear something like this, let's assume you are already doing something valuable and you are offered a hike of about 8%. But when someone says, if you can wait for 6 more months, you may get a chance of 50-60%. If the company is doing good, if the revenue is going good down the line, the next 6 months, you may get a hike of about 12 to 14%. We often feel the amount of 8% lesser valuable, and we feel that we may miss that 14%, and most probably we may tend towards waiting for 6 more months so that we may get 12 or 14% hike. So this is prospect heuristics, where even if you take 8% now, and if you do consistently better, after 6 months or 1 year, you may outperform that also. So in this case, when you say, I don't want a hike now, I'll wait for 6 months, in that case, you underweigh your gains. That is, you have gained 8% productivity already, you underweigh that, and you take a risk of the unlikely loss. You may eventually end up losing the 8% also. After 6 months, there can be some geopolitical situation, the company's revenue may go down, you may still end up in same 8%, or you may even end up in a percentage which is lesser than that.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Yeah. So the unlikely loss is like notional gain which they portray to us, which is actually making us feel as if it is an unlikely loss if we make a decision against it. So that is what prospect heuristic is. So these are all the small subconscious things. Psychologically, if you put the offer on table in this way, people make decisions in different way. So we should be careful when we get some offers on table like this in any aspects. So whatever we have seen in heuristics, all the 5 types of heuristics, it has some bias in decision making. Just like the example which we have seen just before, it induces some type of bias to the kind of decisions which we make. So that is what is the critical part of heuristics. Whenever we often rely on heuristics, because human brain actually makes only 5% of decisions every day consciously. Rest of all, 95% of decisions which your brain says, do this, do that, go this side, go that side, pick it from this place, all these kind of decisions are taken subconsciously or heuristically. So whatever decisions which we take heuristically, it is all mental shortcuts like representativeness, availability, anchoring. All these are quick decisions which doesn't take any clock cycles in your brain, but you do the actions subconsciously or based on some bias. While these strategies simplify complex judgments, they can also lead to bias and error. That is a typical problem, especially when based on limited information. You observe the scenario, you still don't gather more information around it, or you don't spend some time in your brain to decide and make a decision. So the idea here is like the heuristic is not to be avoided. It is not like 95% of the time your brain should not decide by itself. That is not the point in the table. But let's assume you want to take some 1% of the 95%. Let's say if you figure out like daily morning, you wake up, pick the mobile, spend some 1 hour on the mobile. So let's assume this is your pattern every day. 95% of daily you do it without any consciousness. And suddenly, if you want to pick that one activity and if you want to fix it, first thing is you should take that problem into your mind. Think like, why I am doing it? Why do I need a mobile as soon as I get up? Okay, I just get up, check if there is any urgent call, and then if I leave it and move to something productive, that's well and good. But to identify that as a problem is the first step. So it is not like all the 95% of decisions which brains take subconsciously needs and revisit, which will make our lives more exhaustive. But we should pick 1, 2, 3 things which could be problematic and why our brain decides it certain way heuristically. That we need to analyze. And only when we identify that as a problem, we'll figure out multiple other ways. Let's assume you get up, pick the mobile, and let's assume if this is a good day, you think about it. And from tomorrow, if today we figure out that as a problem, what can be done tomorrow to make it better. That is the plans, alternate plans which you have. You can have, you can start building the paper of habit of reading a newspaper, or you can take your walking shoes, go walk right away as soon as you get up. All these are the various things, and you can walk out to a gym right soon after you woke up. So people have different plans alternatively, and something may be suitable for each one of the individuals. So first thing is identify the problem, which happens heuristically. It will have some bias, but if you want to make productive decisions rather than heuristic, you need to identify the problem, find plans to it, what suits you, you should start following it, and then observe. Let's assume you go for a walk for 1 month continuously. You go to gym for 2 weeks continuously. You will see the change in the quality of life that starts from the next day. So all these are the key factors. Like the heuristics can be broken. Heuristics provides bias. Heuristics stops our brain from looking for more information. So only when we consciously look into these problems, we'll have better decisions and better outcomes. So let's assume you are a cricket captain, a team captain, and you pick the team of 11 members for your team. And the last match you saw a middle order batsman who got into the pitch when some 12 runs is needed in the last over. He hits some 2 sixes and makes the match winning. And the next time in the current match today, you still feel that run pressure is there, and still 15 runs needed in last over. If you put the same batsman in the same slot, it is just heuristic. Past experience, recently that happened, you expect that to happen again. But if the batsman fails today, let's assume he gets into the pitch, he fails, and the team loses. Eventually, it is because in the last match, he would have batted against a weak bowler or on a flat pitch where it would have been easier for him to hit. But it is not proven and tested completely. So these kind of heuristics we need to avoid. So this is an example to show it can have bias. So to avoid it, what we can do, that is like weighing alternatives. So weighing alternatives is like you would have had 2-3 plans in your mind. You would have picked one. Why did you pick that one? You need to have some factors catered to it. So that is when time allows, when you have time, decision can be made more rationally by listing key attributes, assigning importance weights, and scoring options to those to choose the best fit. So you have 2-3 options. You need to know why you have picked all these options, have some key attributes to weigh it against each of the options that you have in your mind, score it eventually, and see what works the best. So even in this case, the person who makes the decision can have some bias. Let's assume the same IPL cricket match scenario. You own an IPL franchise. You want a fast bowler. You have shortlisted 3 players. How do you decide? There are multiple ways to decide. Heuristically, you can pick someone who can be number 1 in the current scenario. But if you want to make it by proper weightage, you need to have the proper attributes to assess those bowlers, like economy rate of the bowler, death over performance, injury history of the fast bowler, and the price tag associated to the fast bowler. You have it all associated, score each of the player. And if you find one as the best as per your analysis, and if you make the decision, then you will not have any regrets. You have put a conscious thought, you have seen the actual information, and then if you have made that choice, it is the best choice for you. And even in that case, let's assume if you have 2 players having equal score, there can be some possibility where decision maker can have some bias or personal preference due to past team bonding or something like that. So all these are possible, but to know, long story short, thing is like to make proper decisions, to get out of heuristics, we need to have proper weighing alternatives. So any alternatives which you reject, you should know the attributes through which you have scored it. And based on that scoring, if you believe that those options are still not valuable, you go with the choice that you make, then you will not have any regrets in the decisions that you have made. So these are all the basic aspects of decision making. So finally, let's make better decisions, knowing all this. That is what is all about decision making. So
It's wonderful.
yeah.
Sorry, I joined late. And anybody, any questions you have for decision making? We still have time.
Yeah.
Any questions you can ask.
I could see some comments in the chat section where shall we take a share market as example? Yes, I guess we discussed about that as well, share market example. Extremely clear. And is there anything which you guys want to add on top of it? I would have given some examples. You would have faced some.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, because I joined late, I should have asked in between, getting more examples from them. Actually.
Yeah.
That way, it's okay. What examples you you have given is it's apt actually.
Yeah.
And have any questions, anyone? Somebody sent a. Yeah, shall we take share market? Any questions? Or we'll.
So there is a question. Can you do utility of decisions again? So utility of decisions in the sense. Okay. So utility is like it is one of the factors in decision making. People make decisions to optimize outcomes, either by minimizing losses or maximizing the benefits based on what they personally value. What is their personal needs? So different individuals assign different value to the same option depending on their situation. So let's assume there is a person A who has an immediate need. Say his one of his near or dear ones is unwell. He wants to meet an medical expense of say 1,000 rupees immediately. And let's assume there is another person who is actually financially stable, who doesn't have any needs today. You have these two people in two rooms, and you give them the same offer, like you either get 1,000 rupees today, or if you can wait 365 days without getting this 1,000 rupees now, if you can wait 365 days, you will get 10,000 rupees. So the person in room number 1 who has an immediate need, the utility is like he don't feel like he's losing the 10,000 rupees. It is not like he's losing 10,000 rupees. He's getting an immediate value of 1,000 rupees where he can save someone who is very close. So he'll pick. So utility is like what you want and what you value at the moment, and what helps in getting that utility. So what helps in getting that done. So the person A will choose 1,000 rupees on the current day, and the person B in another room who is very financially stable, who just think it as an investment. Okay, if I get 1,000 rupees today, I'm just getting 1,000 rupees. If I get 10,000 rupees after 365 days, it is 900% growth, which means for him there is no immediate need. So the 1,000 rupees is not a matter of fact. He just looks it in a different perspective. So for him, 10,000 rupees at 1 year later, maybe a different value proposition for him. So utility is like what you want. That defines the kind of decision that you make.
Can I add another example for this?
Yeah.
It's like also when you see people who are applying for jobs and what salaries that they will do the job for.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also like a utility-based decision, no? Like supposing I'm out of the job market for the last 5 years, I would rather take a job even if it's of a lower pay, because it will reduce the gap in my resume, than somebody who's already with a job in hand who'll say, no, I'll wait for a better offer.
Obviously.
The two things actually, the major decisions in life is, your career and your marriage. Okay. So two major decisions, we don't have prior experience. He is talking about the factors, so so you have to actually mix many factors when you're taking a decision for a career, and that's very important actually. But putting a share market and all that, as Ashok said, we need to have a prior experience and and all that. So there's many walkthrough in maybe in future if I can take decision making on based of personality. How do you develop your personality based on your decision making apart from this? So that will help you to understand better. I mean, but this is like everything what Ashok said is point of view of textbook and an examination point of view. That's very important because we need to understand the factors. We need to understand every bit of things like what is utility, how it is applied, and where it is applied, and all that. So it's very beautiful taken, and whatever the example is given is it's very good. But we could have also contributed, but it's okay. We'll do it some other day when we have time. Thank you, Ashok. Any more questions you have?
I just wanted to add, as Ashok sir mentioned that today's offer, if you take it, you will get 500 rupees off. But after a week, it may or may not be the 50%. I just wanted to share my own experience. So I went for taking a holiday package. I got an invite. So it was the initial price, the starting price was like 1.2 lakhs. So he was just trying to brainwash, and he done lots of things. And he told that today is the last offer, and if you're taking today, I can give you the maximum discount of 50,000.
Okay.
So it changed my mind whether I have to take it today or let me wait for 1 more month like that.
Exactly.
So, and I took it.
Usually we do that.
So
I think this is
I thought
maximized by advertisers, no? This heuristic thing is.
Yeah. So on that day, how many of them are taking? It's a great challenge for them. So that holiday package is really what they're giving. They're giving 1 day free outing. They'll give a gift, those time and dinner, all those stuff.
Yes.
But again, this is also one of the.
Yeah, they'll create a sense of missing out.
Yeah.
Exactly. In those cases, we actually overweigh the loss and underweigh the gains. So that is what is covered in prospect heuristics.
Yeah.
Is there any other experience that people want to share?
Yeah, that's it. Thank you, Ashok.
It's very personal. Don't share.
Yeah.
If it's okay to share, then you can share. I mean, you made any mistakes in decision making or you rectified it. So something like that you can share before we close.
Yes, I believe there is nothing more. So
yeah. Thank you, Ashok. Thank you so much. Are we using the same link tomorrow also?
We can generate a different link. We can discuss this over a call.
Okay, fine. Sure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Good night, everyone.
Thank you all. Good night.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am.